Canada. It's more than just breathtaking landscapes and friendly people. It's also home to some of the most unique and entertaining slang in the world. From words that'll leave you scratching your head to phrases that'll have you saying "eh" in no time. Canadian slang is a language all its own. In this video, we're diving into the words and sayings that make Canada truly one of a kind. So let's get started, eh? So up first, we're going to start off with an important one, coffee. If you ever hear somebody say they're going to go to Timmy's to get a coffee, that means they're going to Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a Canadian coffee and donut shop, which was originally started by the hockey player Tim Horton. And if you're in Tim Hortons and you hear somebody say, "I want a large double-double," that just means they want a large coffee with 2 cream and 2 sugar. Poutine is just a French-Canadian delicacy. It's actually just fries and gravy with curd cheese on top. Then if you go outside and you hear somebody saying, "Oh, I'm going to go for a dart," that just means they're going for a cigarette. And if you're in somebody's home and they say, "Can you pass me the clicker?" The clicker is just the TV remote. You might actually hear somebody say, "Man, my hydro bill was really high this month." All that just means is that their electricity bill was really high. And when the person who asked you for the clicker, they might be sitting on the Chesterfield. All the Chesterfield is a sofa. Chesterfield was originally just the company that made sofas. And if you ever hear somebody say, "Can you pass me a serviette?" it just means they want you to pass them a napkin. If you ever hear somebody say, "Can you pass me a pop?" all a pop is a soft drink or a soda. And sometimes at breakfast we end up eating back bacon. All back bacon is Canadian bacon, quite similar to ham. And during the summer, the kids might ask you for a freezie. All a freezie is a frozen popsicle in a plastic tube. And here's one I used a lot when I was growing up. Bush party. We'd have bush parties. You'd grab a bunch of friends and go out to the woods and make a bonfire and have some beer. Or we'd also do it in farmers' fields. So when you're at that bush party, you might be bringing a 2-4 with you. A 2-4 is just a case of beer. What you also might be bringing with you is a Mickey. A Mickey is just a 375 milliliter bottle of alcohol, or 16.9 ounces. And if you drink too much, you might end up getting some Molson Muscle. Molson Muscle is just a beer belly. They named it Molson Muscle because when I was growing up, there was really only 2 main breweries in Canada, Molson and Labatt's, so they ended up calling it Molson Muscle. The other one that's different for Canadians is they call it rye. Rye is just basically whiskey. So when we get over to the money part, in Canada, we don't have $1 bills, we have coins. We call them a loonie. They're called a loonie because they have a loon on them. And our $2 coins are called a toonie. Guess why? And for those of us who end up losing our jobs, we usually end up going on Pogie. Pogie is just an unemployment check. Then we have a whole bunch of weird sayings that sometimes people don't get. We get a click. Click is just a kilometer, which is 0.62 miles. Or maybe you're a keener. A keener is just an eager or enthusiastic person. Here in Canada, especially out west, they get Canucks. A Canuck is just a warm weather pattern that comes over the Rocky Mountains. Usually they get them around Calgary. It's mainly been known as a helicopter, though. The other one I haven't heard in a long time, which was used a lot when I was growing up, was hoser. That's just a mildly insulting term for someone uncultured or clumsy. So you might hear somebody saying something like, "You're a real hoser, eh?" If you're driving with a bunch of people and you might hear one of them say, "Hey, hang a Larry." Hang a Larry just means take a left. Or maybe they might say, "Hang a Roger." All that means is take a right. Sometimes you might hear people say, "You're hooped." All that hoop means is you're in trouble or in a bad situation. The other one that you might actually hear is giver. Giver just means to go all out or try your best. You might actually hear somebody saying, "You better give her." Sometimes you might actually hear somebody saying something like, "If you want to pass that car, you better give her." The other one that was pretty popular, especially when I was growing up, was it's a gong show. All that people meant when they said that was it's a chaotic or disorganized situation. And here in Canada, we don't say the letter Z, we say the letter Z. And because hockey is one of Canada's national pastimes, we get things like rink rat. A rink rat is just basically somebody who spends a lot of time at a hockey rink. Usually it's a parent who has to take their kids to practices, games, tournaments, stuff like that. When you're at the game, you might hear them say, "You better deke them out." Deke just means to dodge or to feint somebody. They use it in hockey, but it's also used in everyday speech when people are trying to deke somebody out. The other one we have is Mountie, also known as the RCMP or Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Most people think that the Mounties wear their red uniforms and ride horses, but that's not true. They actually police a lot of communities in Canada, and they also do a lot of other things. Then we have the term Newfie, which is actually just a term for somebody from Newfoundland, Canada, one of our provinces. Sometimes it can be affectionate, other times it can be derogatory. We also get a lot of Canadians who go down south for the winter into the United States, in Florida, Arizona, places like that. And we call them snowbirds. The other one we have different from a lot of other people is we have a stag or stagette, which is just basically just a bachelorette or bachelor party. And last but not least, we have toboggan, which is just a sled for snow. Sorry, I just had to get my toque and my jersey on here. That's one of the words I missed actually in the video was toque. Toque is just a word we use for a knitted cap, also known as a beanie or a watch cap. And the other one I missed was Canuck. A Canuck is just a slang word we use for calling ourselves a Canadian. We're a Canuck. So if you ever get a chance to visit Canada, you might actually hear somebody say something like, "I'm just heading out with a toonie in my pocket to grab a double-double from Timmy's, eh? After that, I'll give her in the rink and like a true hoser, deking past the Mounties with some rye-fueled keener energy while trying to skate off my Molson muscle from last night's 2-4. You'll know exactly what that person's trying to say. So I had a real hard time making that little portion of the video, trying not to laugh. Very few people in Canada use slang that much. We'll throw in the odd word here or there, but overall, we speak just like everybody else. So, I'd like to thank you very much for joining me on this journey through Canadian slang. Whether you're a true Canuck or just visiting, these words and phrases are sure to add some A to your everyday conversations. Don't forget to leave a comment with your favorite Canadian slang, or one that I might have missed. I'd like to thank you again for joining us here on My Mark on Life, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.